One. Welcome everyone to Latter Daily Digest and Third Verse and Momo Nomo. We're doing this episode of the Salt Lake Expositor, more murders among the Mormons. So anyway, Megan, you want to give us a little highlight of what's going on?
Yeah, no, if we did have an episode where there were more mermen among the Mormons, I think that would be fascinating for everyone. We should put that together as soon as possible.
We need mermen.
That's right. So it's a bit of a heavy topic today, and I do want to give a little bit of a disclaimer that while we are going to be talking about some political ideas, this is not going to be a political discussion by any means. At least that's my intention. I don't know if you guys have a different idea. If you do, you can correct me later. But I just want to give that as a disclaimer, and also as a disclaimer that we're going to be talking about, a shooting that was traumatic for a lot of people and continues to be as conversations around that event continue to play out online. So I also want to say it's Sunday, September 14th at about 3:10 p.m. Central Time. And some of the things that we say on here today may later be disproven as more evidence comes to light. And so if you're watching this, anytime after it goes live, there's always a possibility that more information or more clarity has come out on certain things that we're going to talk about today. So we're discussing what is current to the best of our knowledge. Also, encourage people in the chat to correct us if there's something that we get wrong factually, because I, for one, I don't know about Randy and Jean, but I, for one, want to be corrected if I say something that's wrong. So,
not me. If I say something wrong, I want to continue to believe that I'm right.
Let it ride. Got it. Good to know.
Because I don't know what it's like to be wrong and never even experienced that.
I thought I was wrong once, but I made a mistake. So I'm in the same camp as you, Randy.
You were wrong.
So we're going to be talking today about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, their response to the shooting that happened on September 10th on the campus of Utah Valley University. And so it was a conservative activist, Charlie Kirk, who was speaking at a political rally there on the campus. And he was shot, as far as we know, allegedly by a shooter who was on the roof, who was later identified as Tyler Robinson, who's a 22-year-old native of Washington, Utah, which is in southern Utah near St. George. And as far as we know, he was not a student at Utah Valley University. He previously attended Utah State University just for one semester. He'd received a full ride presidential scholarship to Utah State University, but only attended one semester there and then went on to attend an electrician program at a trade school and was in his third year there. As far as we know, he had a roommate, and he was messaging with this roommate on Discord after the shooting took place, asking that roommate to go and collect the weapon that was used and describing the weapon so that the roommate could help him out. As far as we know, that roommate is cooperating with authorities. And what we know about how the shooter was identified, hello to Loki, the dog over there. The shooter was identified by, from what I understand, his uncle saw pictures that were being circulated online, and his uncle recognized that this might be my nephew, and called Tyler's father. And apparently they reached out to their bishop for help and advice about what to do in this situation. Apparently Charlie's shooter, the assassin, Tyler, had said that, or had alluded to the fact that he may have done this, but he didn't want to turn himself in. He wanted to unalive himself. And the father, I guess, convinced him not to, or at least called authorities so that Tyler could be apprehended. And he was arrested. He is in custody. Again, still the alleged shooter, because they will go through the legal process They'll have a hearing for him tomorrow. It'll be interesting to hear whether or not he pleads guilty.
You know, there's a lot of misinformation that is being reported about this case, and slowly but surely, some of these mistaken statements that have been made are being corrected. Fox News came out with a news release late last night that the roommate of Charlie Kirk's is transgender, and that, I'm sorry, not of Charlie Kirk, of
Tyler.
That indicates to me that he was fairly progressive and, wasn't this extreme or right-wing individual that I think we first thought he was. However, he was also wearing a Trump shirt in one of the pictures that I saw of him. So, it's a little bit confusing as to what his viewpoints are. And another report was that his father was in law enforcement, but he was not. He was a cabinet maker.
Right.
And I'll just say, we will add to the mistake list probably at some point during the day, during our conversation. But some things are just our opinions about things, and some things we're sharing other news things. And I actually do have, Megan, if you're ready, the first statement that came out from the church, official church news.
Yeah, I do want to say before we go on that yes, we do know for sure that he was raised by a family who is faithful in the LDS church, but we don't know what his personal beliefs or feelings are about the LDS church. And I also have heard some speculation as well that Tyler belonged to an actually ultra conservative group. And that was derived by some people on social media who are saying that one of the things that he wrote on one of the gun casings could be attributed to this ultra conservative right-wing personality. Now, as to whether or not he ascribes to that ideology or believes in it or any of that, we don't know, because at this point we don't have a manifesto or a statement that is directly from him saying what he believes or how he felt. Some people have suggested that his roommate is transgender, and I don't know if that's been confirmed or not. Do either one of you?
I don't know.
Well, according to Fox News, in a special report last night, they did say that his roommate was a transgender individual.
Okay. Well, one source is good. I always like to have more than one. So it's an interesting thing to note, just because it may explain why Tyler may have had some bad feelings towards Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk was fairly vocal about his feelings about LGBTQ community. And we should say Charlie Kirk is a husband and a father, was a husband and a father. And I believe his death is tragic, just for the fact that if we remove politics from it, his wife is now a widow. His kids are now going to grow up without him. And I just really, my heart goes out to his family and the people who are affected by his death.
I saw a video last night of his widow at his open casket, holding on to his hand and weeping, saying how much she loved him and how much she'll miss him. And it just, I don't care what anybody's viewpoints are. It's tragic for a family to lose their dad and the husband that young.
Right. Thank you. Jean, do you want to go ahead and read the statement?
Yeah, and I've provided a link to this in the chat as well. So
Thank you.
Church issues a statement on shooting in Orem, Utah. The following the shooting of an American political commentator, the following statement has been issued attributable to church spokesman Doug Anderson. Now, we could also say that who's Doug Anderson's boss?
That would be Rusty Nelson.
No, the new hire that was LGBTQ friendly, that everybody's against. I'm blanking on his name. We'll come up with it in a little bit.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
And when it says attributed to Doug Anderson, probably there was a team meeting, and he's the one that probably released it. So it's not just one person does something rogue, right? Anyway. So anyway, it says, it is with great sadness that we learn of the shooting that took place at Utah Valley University, resulting in the death of Charlie Kirk. Our prayers go out to his family at this time. We condemn violence and lawless behavior. We also pray that we may treat one another with greater kindness, compassion, and goodness. For members of the church, we reaffirm the Savior's teaching and admonition is to love our neighbor. Any comments about that?
Randy, can you go first?
Yeah, I got to be honest. I was pulling up some videos while you were reading that.
I could comment first. It's the lawless. They condemn lawless behavior. Now, not filing 13F statements is breaking the law, especially since they did it for 20 years against the advice of counsel, I'm pretty sure. And then they corrected it, right? But then they said wasn't really our fault or something, and allows members to just say, oh, it was just a mistake, right? Compared to being lawless. And so there have been lawless behavior from the church throughout its history. And so, but if going forward, they're going to condemn lawless behavior, then that's good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what I'll say about this is, can you scroll back up there to the top? Does it give a time on that? Okay. So that's. Go ahead.
Well, it says 10 September 2025.
Yeah. So I wanted to share, I'll share my screen if that's okay, really quickly, because I have the church news, the church news, the Deseret News, that's basically, their own newsroom. And they issued this online article at 4:40 p.m. on the day of the shooting. That included the statement that you just read, which was posted on the church newsroom social media page, on the Instagram page as well. And then just under it, we see 130 plus quotes from church leaders and scriptures about being peacemakers. Well, where are the other quotes from church leaders and scriptures that incite violence? For example, the story in the Book of Mormon about justifiable homicide, where Nephi kills Laban because he believes that it's better for one man to die than for an entire nation to dwindle and perish in unbelief. And I can't help but think that a person raised in Mormonism is going to know and understand the concept of justifiable homicide in a different way than perhaps other people do. And the other thing that strikes me about this is that this statement came out at the very latest at 4:40 p.m. on the day of the shooting. I don't think that I have ever, in the history of the church that I know, and I'm happy to be proved wrong, that the church has so quickly come out to make a statement about something. Sometimes they don't make a statement at all. Sometimes they're completely silent on even very, very big issues. And this is a shooting that took place at a university that's not even owned by the church. It's a public university in Orem, not even in Salt Lake. And I'm curious what you guys think about that.
I would like to comment on your comment. As you know, Megan, the church is very selective about their doctrine and their commandments. And thou shalt not kill only applies if the church decides that it's wrong. But for Nephi, it was righteous, and he did it in the name of God, which has been the case. Look at, oh my gosh, there's so many instances throughout the scriptures where people have died, and it was, I guess, a justifiable homicide in the eyes of the Lord. And You know, I can understand.
Lori Vallow has killed more people than this shooter. And has the church condemned any of her actions?
Nor Chad Daybell's.
But it's okay. It's okay because she read a book that talked about that, and she could see that they were demons. Gene, did you not know? She could see that they were, she could see that they were demons, and so she ended their lives. Like Nephi, as came out in court so often. But it's almost laughable to me, if it weren't so serious, that the church condemns certain murders and doesn't condemn other murders, and certainly condones keeping the law of the land when they themselves fail to do that. A little hypocritical to me.
Yeah, and that was going to be my point as well. So thank you for making it for me. I mean, they could have. To me personally, when I look at the situation, there is nothing more embarrassing than for the church. I'm going to say for the LDS Church than having their doctrine twisted to justify murder. I would think that would be incredibly embarrassing to them, and that instead of ignoring it, that they would want to come out and condemn it, especially when the key piece of evidence in Lori's first trial in Arizona this last April was a text message that she sent to her brother, Alex, who also was a serial killer, in my opinion. She sent him a text that said, "I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you." And if I were a leader of an organization where some of our key text was being mischaracterized in that way, I would be very vocal about coming out and saying, that's not what that scripture means. You know, make sure that you're listening to the way the prophets instruct you on this, that, you know, that means to be courageous, and it doesn't mean to go killing people in the name of God. But of course, they have been deafeningly silent on that issue. And so I find it interesting. Why did they feel the need to be so quick to come out and condemn this violence when they've been so silent on so many other acts of violence, even on the school shooting in Colorado that took place on the same day? But that has nothing to do with them. So they don't feel like they need to comment, I guess. I don't know.
And interestingly enough, they're doing everything they can to keep the name Mormon, LDS, Latter-day Saints out of all of the press, which we'll see shortly. But
right.
You know, my motto from One Tin Soldier: do it in the name of heaven. You can justify it in the end. And that's what all these people seem to be thinking.
Exactly. So do we have the second statement that was put out by the church?
Yeah, I thought your thing was going to present it, but I will find it.
Oh, no. Oh, I mean, I can pull it up too.
No, I have it right here.
Okay.
I'll just share it with the audience real quick. On stage. If I press the right buttons. Statement on violence issued following the shooting. Following the shooting of an American political commentator, the following statement has been issued. Oh, did I delete the wrong one? Is it the same thing again? Sorry about that. Maybe.
Yeah, that's the one from the day of.
Well, damn it, Gene. How could you?
2 days later, the First Presidency issued something called First Presidency Condemns Violence, Calls for Peace. Is this the one?
Yes.
I think so. A call to build communities of greater kindness and love. The First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has released the following statement. You know, if you got 15 men and you give them 2 days, they can come up with this. We'll just preface it. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints condemns horrific acts of violence worldwide. including the recent assassination in Utah. We affirm our repeated calls to seek peace and unity despite our differences. Jesus Christ teaches us to love one another, that hate is wrong, and that human life is sacred. We urge all to reject violence and instead build understanding. Recognizing that we are all children of God, we must treat one another with more dignity, compassion, and respect. As we mourn with those who have experienced loss and care for those living in fear or conflict, we call upon people everywhere to build communities of greater kindness and love.
They were very vague about that whole thing. Nothing specific. Didn't mention Charlie Kirk. Didn't mention the perpetrator. They were just vague about everything.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want to get involved. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm sorry, but
I read it as vague too. And I think this is actually pretty typical of the LDS Church's statements. When they do come out with a statement on something, they are vague about it. They don't want to, and this is what I see the church doing, the church leadership, the LDS church leadership doing over and over and over again. They don't want to come out and take any side because they know that they've got members who loved Charlie Kirk, and they know that they've got members who did not like what Charlie Kirk was saying. And so they're going to come out with a very vague statement that basically condemns violence and then says, that they're going to just double down on the respect of, building understanding. We're all children of God. We have to treat each other with kindness and dignity and whatever, compassion, respect, just as you say, very vague and in my opinion, not helpful. I would think that it would be important for the church to say something like, if it turns out that the person who perpetrated this act was a member of our church, we want you to know that that's not what we teach. And that,
Now
they refuse. Yeah, we don't teach it now. We used to teach. Well, we never really taught it. We just sort of let it happen. I will say this. This is a hill that I will die on. The Mormon church was founded in violence. Joseph Smith himself was a violent man. He was taken into court more than once for assaulting people and getting into physical altercations. His death was a violent death. Brigham Young and Joseph Smith both allowed vigilante justice to take place in the name of furthering the Mormon church.
Isn't vigilante justice lawless behavior?
I think it is lawless behavior. You could definitely call it that. So Mormonism was founded on violence. It has all kinds of violence. The Book of Mormon itself at least has 20 graphic depictions of violence in the book. The first of which is a justifiable homicide. That is an incredibly violent death that just didn't need to take place. God could have taken care of getting all of that done in a different way. So we've talked about that sort of ad nauseum. So I find these statements that are vague and, just decry violence to be hypocritical and also to be unhelpful in situations like this.
I wonder if it was a very outspoken opponent of the church that was assassinated. Would it be different, these statements?
I wonder if it would be. I think that if somebody was attacking the church and they were assassinated, I don't know. I would like to think that the church would say something about it, but who knows? Maybe they wouldn't want to give it any air. But I find the whole thing to be really troubling.
Many Mormons would probably think that was an avenging angel that did that act against an anti-Mormon or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, and also, I heard a rumor that there was a post like this online. I hope it's not true, by a member of the LDS Church saying that, thank goodness that Charlie Kirk said something nice about the church before he died. I've seen a lot of hateful posting and I've heard a lot of hateful rhetoric. And I'm grateful that some of the people that originally were celebrating this event have dialed it back. But I think if it's your first instinct to celebrate when someone dies, I think that's very harmful. And I will also say that I abhor cancel culture. I think we have gone through the last 10 years or so of people, practicing cancel culture where they stop listening to voices of the people that they disagree with. And then your echo chamber just gets louder and louder. And that's what leads to polarization. It's what leads to people hating and dehumanizing anyone on the other side of them. And I think that we need to stop talking so much about how we're different and start recognizing how much we are the same. And we also need to listen to compassion with voices that disagree with us so that we can hear the experiences of other people rather than rejecting it. So that's my opinion.
And it's it's still up in the air what his motives were for shooting Charlie.
Right, exactly. We don't know for sure.
Was he? Yeah, There's mixed reports. I do have a little video about this is ridiculous. What is his name? The shooter? I've been reading it
Robinson.
all night. Robinson, Tyler Robinson. I just have a little video that Rebecca Biblioteca has done some incredible research on all of this and is keeping everyone up to date. And if it's okay, if you don't mind, I think I'd probably like to go ahead and play a clip from her.
There have been some questions recently on whether Tyler Robinson and his family were active members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Are they Mormon? Were they Mormon? It looks like they were active in the LDS Church and then stepped away maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. But the question is, are they still listed on the rolls as members of the LDS Church? I recently got a screenshot from the Washington Riverside Stake directory, and it looks like Tyler Robinson is listed as a member of that stake, as are his father Matthew, his mother Amber, and then 2 siblings who I won't name. So on the rolls, still members of the LDS Church, but according to other sources, not active.
So there you go. Well, I don't know how I don't know how accurate the statement is that they're not active or are active, but they're on the rolls. So I think that pretty much confirms that they were indeed LDS.
Yes, and also on the Mormon news, I can't remember the name of their show. I'm so sorry. Rebecca,
Newscast.
The Mormon Newscast. Thank you. They did talk about Rebecca had gotten some pictures off of Tyler's mom's Facebook page that very clearly showed participating in Pinewood Derby, having a Light the World filter over their picture, and other things that point to the fact that at one time they were very active in the LDS faith. So I don't think that we can say, I mean, we have no idea what they believe now, but I don't think that we can rule out the fact that Tyler was raised with Mormon beliefs because his family was active. And by all the pictures that we see or saw on that show that Rebecca was able to find, I think we can confidently say that Tyler Robinson was raised Mormon.
Yeah, I actually have another statement ready to go if you're okay with that.
And also part of our discussion today, we'll talk about how the church seems to be hiding their and sort of like nomenclature, right? The way the words are used exclusively to the Mormon church for different offices and different ways that we do things, almost like to make it seem like it's a generic Christian situation and not
Right.
LDS.
Right.
So
Which we know that the LDS Church has been heavily involved in a campaign to de-Mormonize their faith, or shall we say, make them seem more mainstream Christian. And so it makes a lot of sense from that standpoint of them trying to make themselves more mainstream and also trying to distance themselves from this tragic situation.
Right. Okay. Let me play this real quick here.
Tyler Robinson, and I finally found one. I've been wondering if the church would make a statement about Tyler Robinson, and I finally found one posted a few hours ago in the New York Times. I'm just going to read it and let you guys decide what you think. The man suspected of killing Charlie Kirk became a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at a young age, according to a spokesman for the church. It is unclear if the suspect, Tyler Robinson, has been an active member of the church in recent years. I can confirm that Robinson became a member of the church at a young age, but refer any further inquiry about his church activity to him or his family, said the spokesman, Doug Anderson. What a way to distance yourself. Of course, he became a member of the church at a young age, at 8, like everyone who's raised in an active LDS family, the age of accountability. This makes it sound like it happened so long ago. They have no knowledge of him, no record of him. He was a member a long time ago, and they just can't comment now. I don't believe that's accurate, and it's a way to completely distance yourself from the situation.
Yeah, it's something he became a member so long ago, it almost has no influence over him now, even though the stake president recently, and also Bednar, said stuff like, once you get baptized, you're committed to the church forever. You have to pay tithing forever. You have to go on a mission. You have to commit to going to the temple and obeying the temple covenants forever. It's all part of the covenant path. It doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you were baptized in the pre-existence. You are still committed to following the law of Jesus, or we'll say Satan's brother.
Right.
Yeah. And when he also says, Susan's husband also says that when you get baptized, you have already committed to serving a mission, and you don't have free agency. You can't just do whatever you want. You can't choose
Moral
whatever you want.
agency.
You only have moral agency, which is to choose the right, I guess, is what he's trying to say with that. But as far as we know, Tyler Robinson did not serve a mission. And I think I pointed to the fact that he did attend Utah State University, but just for one semester, and then went on to technical college.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because I actually have one more little blip, and it's about, did he serve a mission, or what's the story of that? So,
by the way, our thanks to Rebecca Biblioteca and to the Mormon Newscast for covering this. And later on, Mormonism After Dark had a call-in show where they covered it as well, and they made some corrections. There were some things in their Mormon newscast that were later proven to be inaccurate, and they did make some corrections. So everybody should go watch and subscribe to Rebecca and the Mormon Newscast.
absolutely. She does a good job. I'm proud of Rebecca.
Mission. I've seen increasing speculation about this, and also people saying that they know for sure that he did. I've seen a picture that to me looks obviously AI generated of him as a missionary. I had somebody say, oh, I have a friend who was his companion. So I thought I would just throw a timeline out there to begin with and let you all decide if you think this is a possibility. So in 2020, in August, he started his senior year, senior year of high school, 2020. In 2021, in the spring, you've all seen the video of him excitedly reading information that he received a scholarship, a very important scholarship to Utah State University, not UVU, but USU. 2021, same year, he graduated from Pineview High School. He's a graduate, high school graduate. In 2021, he also spent one semester at Utah State University, USU, one semester. So in my mind, that takes us up to January of 2022. Now, we don't know anything about what happened at that point. The next information that we have is current right now, 2025, where he is said to be a third-year student at Dixie Technical College studying something to do with electrical engineering, something like that. So if you kind of take those dates in your mind and look through them, it is possible that there was enough time there between his one semester at Utah State University, which would have ended in the beginning of 2022, to serve a full-time mission between 2022 and 2024. And then how do you explain that he's a third-year student in 2025? He did do a lot of concurrent enrollment according to his family. So yes, there is, if you crunch it, or if he didn't stay for the whole time, it's possible. But I haven't seen any evidence that he did anything other than just looking at this timeline. Now, would he have wanted to? That's a question. We have lots of statements from neighbors saying that the family were a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that they attended the ward, that Tyler attended when he was younger. We have a statement from Doug Anderson, church spokesman, that he was baptized at a young age. But we also have a statement from a neighbor in 2025 currently who said that this neighbor and 4 others from the ward went to minister to Tyler, and he said, "Get the F out." I'm assuming this was his student apartment. So those are all the information kind of tidbits that I have. I'm going to let you guys think through that and decide what you think. I personally don't believe that he served an LDS mission, given all the things I just went through.
If I were a betting man, I would guess that she was probably right. But that's speculation.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
I would agree. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say those are a few tidbits that we've learned about Tyler. And with the news release last night by Fox News, it may be true. They said that they've concluded that his roommate is a transgender, which could very well have a lot to do with the ire that he had against the church and telling him to get the F out of there.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you are raised in the church, once you leave your family home, of course, you can, live how you choose to live. And it certainly seems like Tyler was saying he did not want to be affiliated with the church anymore. But what stuck out to me about the reporting of this is that the parents apparently reached out to the bishop. So it's very possible that the parents are still active believing members. And it seems as though Tyler was not, if he rejected that in such a vocal way. So
funny how the church says that, the press, at the request of the church, I'm sure, said that the father reached out to his minister.
Yes, I was just going to pull up the clip of President Trump speaking on, was it CBS News this morning, special report, because I wanted to talk about the language that was used. And I'm having trouble finding the actual President Trump actually speaking. Oh, here he is. I found it now. Give me one second, and I will share it with you.
Gene has an incredible impersonation of Donald Trump. So, if you can't find it, Gene could probably pinch hit.
Yeah, and Michael Malloy is pointing out that home teachers are currently called ministers in the church. And so there could be some confusion as well with that. So here is the Fox News special report, President Trump talking about the arrest of the alleged shooter.
Randy, you might have to remove your other thing.
Oh, you know what? I would be happy to do that.
There we go.
With a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job. You know, getting somebody that you start off with absolutely nothing. And we started off with a clip that made him look like an ant that was almost useless. We just saw there was somebody up there. And so much work has been done over the last 2.5 days. You know, it's amazing, actually, when you start off with that and then all of a sudden you get lucky or talent or whatever it is. But yeah,
It's amazing. Please get to the point, Mr. President.
I think we're in great shape.
Mr.
And
President,
he's in custody.
your suspicion was that he was radical left, and now you have more information. What can you share with us about his ideology?
Yeah, Lawrence, let me just, and by the way, Lawrence is doing a good job. What's going on?
Job. Yeah.
Mr.
I'll tell you what, I'm very proud of you.
That president has information that
Okay.
the rest of
Oh,
I thought that
yeah.
they were going to. I thought that they were going to get to the point where he's talked about his family member turning him in. So my apologies, you guys. I had the wrong clip pulled up.
But we know that
Let me-
Lars is really doing a good job.
We do know. Apparently, everybody was doing a great job. So I apologize. You guys go ahead and talk amongst yourselves while I try to find the right clip here. I apologize.
Yeah, I was actually, when the
Yeah.
first picture came out where it looked like an ant, I went into my yard to see if the killer was out there.
CNN breaking news.
That didn't really happen.
So you guys don't have anything else you want to talk about while I look for this
yeah,
clip?
yeah. Sorry, I thought you were ready to
Okay.
hit play.
No, I said
I-
I'm looking for the correct one.
I want to make a little comment. I watched news footage of
very close.
the military escorting the casket to the plane, saluting, all that. I checked, and Charlie Kirk was never in the military. Then Trump ordered all of the flags to be flown at half-mast, and as though it were. And I'm not trying to be political here, but I think it's interesting that he treated Charlie like a hero because Charlie was in his camp and certainly had a lot to do with Trump winning the election, going from college to college and having all these students be somewhat indoctrinated to Trump's going to save our nation. And so I think it's interesting that he got full military escorts and flag at half-mast. What if, let's say, Governor Newsom from California passed away? What kind of treatment would he have gotten?
Well, it's a good point, Randy, and it calls to mind, the case back in June when 4 members of the Democratic Party, who are fairly prominent members of the Democratic Party, were also assassinated. And I don't remember there being a half-mast flag for those 4 people. I could be wrong about that, but I don't remember. Somebody called me out for not reporting on that case because I'm reporting on this one. And I just had to say, I have to be honest and say, I only have so much emotional bandwidth. And during that time, I was heavily involved in my cousin's cases and my family drama. And I noted that situation with a lot of sadness, but I was not able to comment on it publicly because I don't like to comment publicly unless I've done my research and I have the receipts on things. And so I left that to other people to comment on. So, but I don't remember there being the same type of reverence and treatment from the White House for those assassinations as this one. And I could be wrong. But I don't think that it's any new information that President Trump favors the people who are loyal to him. So,
Yeah, just a little bit. And I have to tell you all that this has nothing to do with our topic, but I smell brownies baking, which really concerns me because I'm looking into my kitchen. No one has been in there since we started this podcast. Does that mean I'm having a stroke? I don't know. But it's so weird.
Randy, knowing you, it's probably somebody who has passed away who
cook.
liked to bake brownies and wants to get your attention for some reason.
That's more true than not. Anyway, I'll let you move forward with your.
I want to address, before I play the clip, I want to address Trevor Larson's comment and also some other people who I've seen fly by comments in the chat. Hopefully this story goes away. It's already gotten way too much of people's very limited attention span. The reason I feel so passionately about reporting on this story is because I think it's an incredibly troubling series of events that have taken place. And I think that whether we like it or not, our nation is at a bit of a crossroads where we have an opportunity to either disengage from the polarization that is happening in our country, or we can choose to double down on it. And unfortunately, I think there's a small minority of people who are being very vocal about using this act of violence to justify more violence. And I think that's incredibly terrifying. It's terrifying to me, living in this country and going forward from here. And so the reason I think it's important to talk about this is not just the Mormon Church's reaction to the potential of one of their own members or former members committing a horrific act. I think that it is a point where each of us needs to ask ourselves, am I going to continue to be manipulated by the people in power and continue to dehumanize and other people who believe differently than me? Or can I take a step back from that and remember that whether someone agrees or disagrees with me politically, they are a human being who wants peace and prosperity for their children, just like I do. And though we may go about it in different ways and believe different things about how to achieve it, we are still members of the human family across the world. And violence is never the answer to violence. That's my 2 cents.
Amen.
That's right. It takes discussion to figure out common ground, another thing as well. And, you know, somebody else says this, do you really think what you are doing is helping people heal and come together? I do not. And so what do you think about that?
Well, I hope that what we're doing is helping people heal and come together, because I believe that you can only heal things when you know the full truth about them. And so, you know, first and foremost, I am a truth teller. I believe in telling things the way that they are, not whitewashing or softening them in order to make people feel more comfortable. And so I think that what we are doing is, you know, the whole mission of the Salt Lake Expositor is to bring the truth to light about what's really going on in the church. And when you do that, then people can learn to accept the truth and heal from it. You cannot heal from something that is being covered up and whitewashed, in my opinion.
Thank you, Megan, because it's so true. This is the first stage of healing. We can't carry on with the next stage of healing until we have the information to do that.
Right, exactly. And I want to say my thanks to No More BS and Rio for Life Kim D, who are modding today. I really appreciate the kind and respectful comments that are going on in the chat. I know that there probably are some inflammatory ones that I've missed. And also, Miss Mojo, you know how much I love you. Some people see all caps as yelling, so if we could refrain from that, I think it'll help keep things kind and respectful. And I also just want to say I'm grateful for the disagreement that we do have, and I'm grateful that it's respectful for the most part. So please continue to keep it that way, guys. And if there's something that we've missed, please forgive us and call our attention to it. So let me go ahead and play this clip. This is President Trump talking about how the shooter was identified.
How it happened, but essentially somebody that was very close to him turned him in. And that happens when you had some of those good shots. Somebody is going to say, whether it's a parent or whatever, I'd rather not say right now. They're going to announce it today, sometime later, probably talk about that.
Nick Waters on the ground for us in Utah. And we have Chris Record is.
Once again, they cut him off right before the important thing. So you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and go to let me unshare real quick so that I can really quickly search for. I'm just going to go right to the Mormon newscast because they had the correct clip.
And while you
I
do
should
that, if I may just, do my little reminder to all of you, we love the fact that we have such a wonderful audience watching, and that's always so welcome. If you're enjoying this, or if you find it interesting, we would love it if you'd hit the like button and share it with your friends, because it'll be recorded for time and all eternity. So feel free to share it with your friends. And Megan, are we going to have a call-in number that's posted?
I thought that we would just invite people into the studio, if that's okay.
Sure,
Does that
of
work
course.
for you guys? It
Yeah.
seems like when we've tried to do call-in, we've had technical difficulties. And apparently I'm going to have to put my headphones on because my AirPods have died. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, maybe if we could post the link for them to come into the studio. Can you do
I'll get
that,
the link
Jimmy?
in really quickly. Randy, do you want to respond to this comment?
Yeah. As far as why bring politics into this, we're not bringing politics into it. I think we're bringing an indication that there's definitely favoritism going on. And, it just happens to be on the right side. If it were on the left side, I would point it out as well. But bringing politics into it, well, he was a political figure. Charlie Kirk, that's what he was. He was a radical political figure. And so I don't think we're bringing politics into it. I think that the politics are what we're reporting on.
Yeah, it's inherent in this story. We can't not talk about left and right in this story because of Charlie Kirk being a right wing political commentator, and it was done at a political rally, and so that's really the point. Also, I'll agree with Trevor Larson. Politicians brought politics into this. Now, I'm going to go out on a huge limb here, which, my mama always told me, no, she didn't actually. I probably shouldn't do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I will say that if it is true that the shooter had a roommate who is transgender and they were in a romantic relationship, I can understand how Charlie Kirk's rhetoric, his commentary, everything that he stood for would be very threatening to Tyler Robinson. And if that's the case, then we can completely remove quote unquote politics from it. And we can say that the comments of one person felt threatening to the lifestyle of another person, and they decided to use violence to silence this person's voice. And that's wrong. That's never the answer. So I would like to know for sure if that was his motivation. I would like to know his motivation.
And Megan, I don't think you're going out on a limb with that, because I watched video after video after video of Charlie Kirk talking about homosexuals, talking about transgender, talking about how they're the curse on the earth and that they're breaking up families. And so you're not going out on a limb. You're just actually stating fact. Anyone who doubts that is welcome to take a look. Go ahead and Google Charlie Kirk homosexuals and see what he has to say about it.
Right. So I appreciate that, Randy. Thank you so much. And I also don't want to wade too deep into the waters of specific things that Charlie Kirk said, because I think we could get really far down that rabbit hole and this would be a completely different conversation. So I really would like to focus on the Mormon lens of this and the angle and come back to, that's why I'm going to come back to this clip over here. Thank you for saying that, though, Randy. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So this is a clip from the episode called Mormon Connection Behind Charlie Kirk Assassination on the Mormon Newscast with Radio Free Mormon, Rebecca Biblioteca, and Bill Reel. My thanks to them for allowing us to use this clip under YouTube's fair use policy.
High degree of certainty.
Are you guys getting an echo?
A little bit.
Yes.
Okay, let me do a thing real fast.
This is Megan, excuse me, doing a thing.
All right, I did a thing, and now let's see if the echo has gone away.
We have him. Essentially, somebody that was very close to him turned him in, but somebody close to him turned him as, they said, whoa, it's interesting. Where we had very good pictures, but not great, not perfect. And when you look at it, what happened is somebody, and this happens a lot. It happened with the crazy Boston bomber. It happened with others. Somebody that's close recognizes even a little tilt of the head, which nobody else would do. And somebody that was very close to him said, that's him. And essentially went to the father, went to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic, by the way. And the person was involved with law enforcement, but was a person of faith, a minister. And brought him to a U.S. Marshal, who was fantastic. And the father convinced the son, this is it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what do you guys think about that?
I think he's skipping the word bishop, but that's exactly what he meant.
Yeah, and I want to say too, as was pointed out by the Michael Malloy show earlier, that minister is the term used for ministering brother. So it could have been, reached out to their ministering brother. However, I will say I don't think that that's true, because Mormons typically go to their bishop when they have something of deep concern to them to get advice as to what the bishop would tell them to do. And I just want to say, thank God that this bishop didn't say, call the hotline,
Yeah, no kidding.
and didn't call the hotline himself, but said, turn him in. Let's call the authorities. I don't know exactly how all of that went down, but I'm incredibly grateful that the choice was, rather than to protect this person, to turn them in immediately. And I will also say I've gotten a lot of pushback for those comments on my channel, because people have said, I would never turn in my worst enemy if the death penalty was on the table. Well, that's lawlessness right there. That's an act of vigilantism, to not turn somebody in who has killed another person. And I, can personally, that's right. And I can personally attest, and I said this on my channel on the episode I did the other day, that I had to turn one of my children in for something at one point, and it was a horrible, hard decision. I did not want to do it. I struggled with it. I had people very close to me telling me that I did the wrong thing. And, my relationship with that child was very, very strained for a long time. They hated me for a long time. But as time has gone by, I've said that I would not do it any differently, because I believe in holding people accountable, and I believe in people experiencing the natural consequences of their behavior. So while it is a heart-wrenching decision as a parent to have to turn your child in, knowing that they're going to receive really harsh consequences, that it's a heartbreaking decision to have to make. But when you don't hold people accountable is when you get a Lori Vallow, Alex Cox situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Spotlighting bad behavior is a way of protecting yourself against it and others.
It's a way of protecting others for sure. I mean, somebody who's willing to commit an act of violence is certainly going to go on to commit more acts of violence, probably. Not only that, but they need to be held accountable for what they've already done as well. Again, just mentioning that Tyler Robinson is allegedly the shooter. Obviously, the legal process has to take its course as well.
And I remember the earlier commenter that pushed back on Randy talking about half-mast or half-staff. And I just found out that half-mast means the flag on a ship is half, and half-staff is a flag that's land-based. But anyway.
Are you saying that the ship flags don't apply?
No, I'm saying that I just learned that. That's all. But the pushback was politics. You were bringing politics in it, but we want to identify the fact that the first words out of Donald Trump's mouth, just about, were that it was the radical left was responsible for this, and so if the person who's in charge of a party can't moderate their voice, how would you expect, other people to moderate? And in a way, other people not moderating is pushing back against the fact that Donald Trump was not responsible in a lot of his comments.
Good point, Gene. That's a good point.
That is a really good point.
Yeah, thank you for making that.
Yeah, and I do want to say too, we don't know for sure what this alleged shooter's political leanings are, because again, we don't have a manifesto, we don't have a statement from them, we really don't have any of their writings. We have some things that were written on bullet casings, but I've heard different interpretations of that even among the mainstream media. And so, it's hard to say exactly what what this person's motivations were until we hear from them. And again, I'll just say it'll be interesting to see whether he pleads guilty or not.
That's right.
That'd be interesting.
It's sort of like memes nowadays. When Randy and I were kids, there was a meme where people would draw something peeking over a fence, and it would say, "Kilroy was here." That was like one of the first memes that just meant nothing. So if somebody had written on a bullet casing back then, "Kilroy was here," it just, was just whatever's in the zeitgeist, right? Whatever's happening. And so a lot of the things were related to either a video game or some other memes, and it could just be something that was on their mind when they wrote it down.
And when he says Kilroy, he doesn't mean Killroy. It's Kilroy, like a man's name, Kilroy.
Yeah. Trevor Larson has entered the chat. Let's bring up Trevor and get his take on this. And Randy, would you go ahead, or Gene, would you go ahead and put the link in chat again, just in case anyone else wants to have a brief comment? How are you, Trevor?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Trevor.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, and somehow, Trevor, you need to speak closer to a mic or something, because some people are saying in our last show that we did that it was kind of hard to hear you.
Yeah, I need to actually get a microphone.
Tell us what's on your mind, Trevor.
Well, it's reminding me of a story of my brother died about a decade ago. And it was kind of about the healing power of a fart. What I mean by that is he choked on some food and didn't have air for long enough where he went brain dead. He was in the hospital, and they were going to pull out the air breathing tube so he'd die. And we're all there's maybe 20 people in my family sitting in this hospital room, gathered around. And the nurse came in to pull out the tube. She had to get some gloves, and that was behind me. So I had to lean over for her to get them on one cheek. And just this huge fart came out. It was super loud. And it just made me laugh so hard. It's a horrible situation, but still that moment, it's there's a little something that made it a little easier. Even in that horrible situation, a fart is still funny.
I'm sorry about your brother, Trevor.
Yeah, it was bad. But that's life.
And there are, human things that just happen, and they are sometimes shocking, and it makes us laugh. Other human things that happen make us cry. They're different responses, but But you're basically saying it changed the mood. It changed, your feelings about things just for a little bit brief, so it didn't have to be so somber.
Yeah, it's just like a little break. Like, okay, that was nice.
A little levity.
A little awkwardness, but humor.
Like me smelling brownies, which, by the way, is getting stronger, and it's freaking me out.
So I was wondering if Mormon ministers were at the door that you're unaware of.
At
Randy,
my
I think-
door?
Yeah.
I think you only need to be worried if you smell blueberry pie.
That's right.
I think if it's brownies, you're okay.
I'm pretty sure we don't have any brownie candles. But yeah, well, to be continued, because the kitchen, although, Gene, when he came to my home, saw my studio and he said, I thought your studio, when I see it, it looks a lot bigger. But the fact of the matter is my kitchen is right to my left. That's the kitchen. And yeah, nothing going in the oven. And the front door is within hearing shot. So I guess what I'm afraid of is I'm going to be sorely disappointed after this, because there are going to be no brownies, even after I smelled them.
But Mary would say the brownies have to be keto.
Yeah.
I know I couldn't eat them anyway. So good point, Mary.
It's a ghost tempting you, the brownie ghost.
Yeah, could be, actually. Yes.
Did we have any other specific information about the church's sort of toning down the Mormon verbiage?
I just wanted to say too that according to my research and knowledge, and again, I could have missed something, I don't believe that the church issued any statement regarding the Lafferty brothers or regarding the who was the bomber that the forging bomber,
Mark Hoffman.
Mark Hoffman, or Ted Bundy or Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. I don't think they issued statements after any of those crimes happened. And so I'm very, very curious about why they decided to issue 2 statements in 2 days regarding a shooting that did not take place on church property. It did not take place in Salt Lake City. I just want to understand why they felt the need to do that.
Interesting that they don't make statements on all of the hundreds and hundreds of child SA cases that come forward with LDS people involved. I think probably because this is a worldwide known case and everyone's eyes are on it. So the church is scrambling, basically, as crazy as it is, to keep their name out of it by making these statements.
They probably wanted to push back against any podcasters that might title their show "More Murder Among the Mormons." That's what I'm thinking.
That's probably true.
Right?
I just want to say, Lamisa, to answer your question, what did the church say about Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt? Zip. Nothing. And I appreciate some of the opinions that are coming through. That it's political. The church has money. The church has money, or the political parties have money. I did find it interesting that prior to the election, there was a big news conference sort of a situation that happened over Zoom, where some of the Republicans, prominent Republicans in Utah, were urging people to forgive Donald Trump for his past indiscretions and to go ahead and vote for him. And they had a whole long Zoom call about it, at which Trump himself did appear. And so, I think the church and the Trump campaign have been seen as somewhat symbiotic in some ways, especially in the state of Utah. So definitely could have been politically motivated. I don't know.
I guess the only thing it could be is that Charlie Kirk's friend was Donald Trump. That's like the only difference between him and Lori Vallow.
Right.
Hey,
And Yazetta,
any of you who want to come into the studio, please, we would love to hear your opinions and watch you make them. So you've got the link.
you can also keep your camera off if you don't want to be seen. But Yazetta, thank you for this, because I agree with you. I don't trust any further information that would come out about this shooter. I don't really trust it either, because this has become such a political and polarized discussion. I think it's very unlikely that we're ever going to find out his true motivations unless he chooses to make some kind of a statement, or unless we find some more writings of his, which may end up being suppressed because people might not like the narrative that comes out. But I kind of hope that he pleads not guilty, and I'll tell you why. I know that might seem like a really horrific thing to put, the victim's family and also the shooter's family through a trial and all of that. But when there's a trial, then we get to hear all of the evidence from a real standpoint, where there are rules about what can and cannot be admitted as evidence, and we do get to find out a lot of the truth behind it. But if I would wager, I would guess he probably will plead guilty to avoid getting the death penalty, if that's even possible at this point. I know that President Trump has said that he hopes that the death penalty is applied in this case. Again, he's still the alleged shooter, but also President Trump does not get to decide whether or not he gets the death penalty, actually. That would be the jury and the judge that get to decide guilt or innocence if he pleads not guilty. But a lot of times what happens in these cases is that they'll plead guilty in the hopes of having the death penalty removed from the case, or to get a lighter sentence.
Plea bargain.
If they don't, and this is up to the prosecuting attorney's office as to what they offer him or don't offer him. It could be possible that they don't offer him any kind of a deal for pleading guilty. That could be, and due to maybe public outcry and whatever is going to motivate a lot of the decisions that happen going forward. So I'm going to be covering this on my channel going forward, just because I want to follow what happens with the court case and report on the truth.
Yeah, be sure and keep your eyes on Megan's channel, because I've seen her report on cases before, and she does an incredible job. And Trevor, we really appreciate you coming on. You're always a good part of the discussion. We're going to say goodbye to you and let someone else come on, but thank you for
See you guys.
For your participation.
And I learned from Megan's channel, and also maybe Radio Free Mormon, is that the jury also determines the facts and the judge determines the law. And so when you have those things working together, you have 12 people that are, citizens, that are peers of the shooter, and they could determine, the facts of the case. And it could also lead to, if there's mitigating circumstances for some reason, if the shooter feels that there's such circumstances available, then we at least get to have some closure of reasons or things that were motivating to the shooter.
Yeah. Thanks for this, Kiki. And you are correct. Anytime the church makes a statement, it's because it affects their bottom line, their bottom dollar. And I'll agree with that. That it's always follow the money with the LDS church, seems to be, at least as far as I've seen up to this point. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. So I was going to say, in response to Eugene, I don't know what it's like in Utah, but in some states, the jury gets to decide the sentence, and in some states, the judge gets to decide. And so I just, I covered Lori and Chad's trials just a little bit, the original two trials. And in that case, the judge gets to determine the sentence. And in Florida, where I was covering the Adelson case, which is another enmeshed, entitled family system who believed that a custody battle was a good reason to off somebody. And they so far have convicted 5 people in that case. In that case, the judge gets to determine the sentence. So there are some times when it's up to the jury as to whether the death penalty gets handled. But in almost every case, well, I should say in every case, there's the phase of determining guilt or innocence, and then there's a separate phase called the penalty phase. And there are a bunch of pre-sentencing reports that have to be done, and one of those is the process of mitigation. In other words, trying to find mitigating factors in the offender's life that would warrant a lighter sentence. And so if they go through a penalty phase, in the case of this alleged shooter, it could be that some family members would come and speak on his behalf and say reasons why he shouldn't be executed. But again, I don't know whether in Utah it's the jury or the judge that gets to determine the sentence.
You know, it's really interesting that, that we mentioned about Lori and Chad Daybell, that the church hasn't issued any statements whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I don't think they've ever, you would know, Megan, but have they ever mentioned them or their case?
They have never made a public statement about Lori or Chad or the case, other than when Chad was first, I have to remember this correctly, get the timing correctly on this. I think that after Lori was arrested, if I remember this correctly, Chad Daybell's sister-in-law came out, and she was a stake relief society president at the time. And she said that in the Idaho area, they issued a reminder to members. Well, it was to leadership, but it was basically everybody, because almost everybody's in leadership in some capacity in the church. It was, leaders and teachers and everybody in the Idaho area, the East Idaho area, as a reminder not to participate in any court proceedings and things like that unless they had first talked to the church's attorneys.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Welcome, Tim Rathbone. We appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome.
Thank you.
You and Trevor and all of you in the chat. We would love to hear from you. Pop in if you'd like.
Okay.
Anytime we can get somebody on the show that's just as old as the Constitution, we go for it.
I'm older than the Constitution, Gene. Remember that.
What are your feelings about all this, Tim?
Well, the only things that I can compare this to are the killing of Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Kennedy, and the shooting of George Wallace.
What about Joseph Smith?
Well, I wasn't alive when that happened. But my feelings about the killing of Joseph Smith have changed from what they were many years ago. When I visited Carthage Jail in the winter of it was January 77, I think, is right after I visited Carthage. Anyway.
What about Harvey Milk?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yes, that's another one. Yeah. And Moscone. That's right. I forgot about those two. It was shocking. But I did a comparison through Chat GPT for the reactions comparing Martin Luther King being killed and Charlie Kirk. And I just put it on my Facebook page. You can go there and read it. It's quite interesting. That
can you bring out any highlights?
I have to go look. But there were riots the black community rioted and they burned like there were 10 riots in 10 cities. It was a more militant response, very polarizing. But I think Charlie Kirk's assassination is more polarizing than that one because of the state of the country and everybody's access to social media. Let me see if I can find it.
I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, not more than, or I should say I worked in Memphis, not more than about a mile and a half from where Martin Luther King was shot.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's pretty surreal to look at that hotel, the balcony that he was standing on.
I can't imagine. I mean, when that happened, my father's question was, "How are your friends acting?" And I says, "What do you mean, Dad? I didn't know it had happened. I was 12 or 13. Let me see, 12, 13. No, 14. I think 13 or 68. Yeah, probably 13 going on 14 when it happened." And I asked my friends in school. We had an integrated school, and I asked my friends who I hung out with, "Hey, what do you guys think?" Oh, they were all sad about it, but none of them wanted to take up arms or do anything like that.
What are your thoughts, Tim, on the church coming out with two statements on this case?
Disgusting. It's disgusting.
What's disgusting about it?
They're not being honest. They're not really dealing with the issue. And when we have Desmond,
do you think it's disgusting that they only are doing that to protect themselves instead of honestly believing that what they say is going to?
Yeah, they're only doing it. Yes, they're only doing it to protect themselves, because it immediately was known that because it happened in Utah. Well, national news, Utah. Everybody thinks of Mormons when it's Utah, so the church had to do something quickly. You know, boom, let's get it out there. Let's get one statement out. Let's get another one out within hours.
Yeah, they'll probably come out with another one too, if I know them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So Tim, I just want to say thank you for your comments. I agree that it is shocking and horrific to witness a public execution the way that this happened, but I'm going to disagree with the idea that that Charlie Kirk was of any of the same caliber as Martin Luther King or of JFK, just because a lot of people had no idea who he was. He was well known for debating on college campuses, but most people who didn't watch TikTok or weren't in his demographic didn't know who he was.
I'm not saying that he even rises to that level, Megan. I'm just comparing it to my experience.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
For me and Pat and maybe Randy, not Pat, but Pat Buchanan, if he had gotten killed, most people wouldn't really know, right? Advisor to President Nixon, was on public broadcasting a lot.
Right.
With the McLaughlin group and stuff like that. It would just, commentators, somebody dying, So yes, not somebody at the point of, a leadership position of a party or position, but he was, somebody who Charlie Kirk was backing the Christian. He says he was a Christian and he's a nationalist, but somehow he's not a Christian nationalist, is what I saw him say in a debate with somebody. And so
I would,
Go ahead, Randy.
I'd like to address a comment that just popped up on the screen and further comment by the same individual saying that it's absolutely disgusting. I won't use his language, but ridiculous that Harvey Milk is being compared to Martin Luther King. How can that possibly be the same? They're not the same people, but yes, it is the same situation. Harvey Milk stood for a cause. Martin Luther King stood for a cause that some people agreed with, some people didn't in both cases. So yeah, I'm comparing the two, and I would welcome, for you to message me on my Facebook if you have any desire to carry that conversation on, because it's important to understand that whether you're a homophobic individual or not, you can't deny that they're both standing for a cause. And it sounds to me like you're making a very homophobic comment to me, saying that to compare Harvey Milk and Martin Luther King is ridiculous. And Martin Luther King and Charlie Kirk as well. We are comparing that because they're both standing for a cause in which they believe, whether you agree with it or not. Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fine, Randy. No, it's true. They all stood for causes. I mean, yes.
So Tim, what, based on your experience of Mormonism and the way the church has historically handled situations like this, what do you think we're going to see from them going forward as this process plays out and we find out, whether there is or is not more evidence on this shooter?
They're going to maintain an even strain. Not much is going to change.
Do you think they'll continue to issue press releases and commentary, going forward, or do you think this will be it from them?
There may do one or two more. There may be something in conference next weekend. Is it? No. Anyway, a couple weeks, a month.
Yeah, so the first weekend in October.
Yeah.
That will be interesting because I remember, waiting desperately to hear commentary from the prophet after 9/11 happened. I thought surely he's going to address this and ease our fears and let us know that everything's all right, or issue some kind of commentary about what we should be doing, how we should be reacting. Because, as a Mormon, as most Mormons do, I completely outsourced my critical thinking to the Q15, the 15 guys who are in charge, and really looked to them to answer these questions of how we should respond to things like this. And I was so disappointed that the only thing President Hinckley at the time said was that he went into his meeting the next morning and said, "We live in crazy times. Now let's get to work." I was so disappointed in that. I really wanted to hear from the church an expression of at least sorrow for the victims of that, hateful act that was perpetrated on so many innocent people, and not a word of sympathy for the victims, really. And I was so disappointed by that.
Well, the church will never acknowledge a problem with anything, ever. They'll never acknowledge. They don't apologize for mistakes. They don't make apologies. That's their policy. We won't apologize for anything. There could be a bombing that blows up the conference center. They're going to apologize for that? Probably not.
Not even seeking any kind of an apology, but just a comment, or of comfort or of expression of condolences for family members or anything. So it'll be really interesting to see if they do say something in conference, because they've been silent so often on so many other things.
Yeah, it will be very, very interesting to watch. We'll have to watch conference and see.
And it's in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Thank you, Gene.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
So probably in 2 weeks, we might have a general conference, either prediction show or commentary about it.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for the podcasters that sit through all the sessions of General Conference and report on it. because
Me too.
I don't even think I'm capable of sitting through them all.
So we
I
don't
might
have
make
to.
one or
Exactly.
two.
Yeah.
And we used to sit through all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
So, Eugene, I don't know if you're talking about us being loony leftists to decide how people felt about Charlie Kirk. I'm not trying to say how anybody feels about Charlie Kirk. I know that there are a lot of people who loved his message and are devastated by his death. The thing that I'm asking for people to do is to suspend politics and to see Charlie Kirk as a human and as a husband and as a father. And, I know that he said a lot of things that a lot of people consider hateful, and I'll just say that as a divorced bisexual woman with LGBTQ children, anybody who says hateful things about the LGBTQ community does not have my respect. So I just will say that I didn't want this to be about politics. I wanted it to be about just taking a step back and agreeing. Can we all agree that killing somebody for what they say is wrong? Can we all agree that any time that someone puts themselves out in the public arena and they're killed for what they say, can we agree that that's wrong? Can we also agree that politics has gotten very polarizing in our country and we need to do a better job of listening to each other? Can we also agree that the Mormon Church is going to protect itself at all costs, regardless of what the situation is? And even when there's something that happens that really doesn't have anything to do with them because it didn't happen on their property, they came out and made a statement about this, and I just find it troubling that the church comments on that and not about so many other things that have so much more to do with their fundamental statements and beliefs. So,
And I'll say that Jesus, or the literary figure known as Jesus Christ, by many would be considered a leftist. He was fighting against the popular conservative government at the time, and he spoke for the downtrodden and the people who were underprivileged. And so I'll just finish with that.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, like
And
what
I
is
think that-
what is a leftist to this guy? I'd like to know what he means by a leftist or loony.
I'll take the loony part. I'll accept the loony
okay.
part.
Yeah, I'm loony.
The founding fathers were leftists. They were radicals. Okay. They started this country because they didn't like what the king was doing to them.
Yeah.
They were leftists.
So Eugene Sant would have made a really good Tory. Is what
he would have
thinking.
made a really good Tory. That's right. But you really would have supported the king. When the president of the United States, when asked if he wants the country to come together and says, "I don't care," what does that tell you? He wants us divided. He does not want us to come together. He wants division.
And that's a good point, Tim. Although I don't want to venture into politics, I want to say that the bottom line is murder is murder.
That's right. Murder is murder.
Everyone should be able to speak their mind. Everyone has the right to have their opinions, to preach whatever they want to preach. You may agree with it, you may disagree with it, but killing is never justified, ever. No matter what the church history says, killing is not justified.
When I heard about Charlie Kirk being shot, the first thing I did was I put up on Facebook some things he said, his own words, and people attacked me for it, for posting his words.
Yeah,
and I think people will search his words more and more and more.
That's right.
And they'll be able to make an informed opinion about whether Charlie Kirk represented their beliefs or not.
I would just say also that I hope that people will not clip out parts of his words and vilify him for that. I hope that they will use the full
entirety.
the full comment and make sure that they have the context correct. It's very easy to just repost things that we see without doing our own fact checking and research. And a lot of times people will find that what they've posted is either something that the person didn't say, or it was them making a comment on that subject rather than that was their comment. So I just hope people will be responsible with their posting.
Yes, just take his words for what they are. And if you disagree with them, that's fine. If you agree with them, okay, that's fine.
And you can use scriptures to argue just about any position a human can think about, because almost everything is represented in the scriptures.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and we cherry pick a lot. Thanks so much for coming on, Tim. Good to see you.
You're welcome. Well, take
See you
care.
later.
Appreciate you
See you
coming.
Tuesday.
Everybody, Tuesdays with Tim. And who knows
See
what we'll be
you-
talking about then.
See you next Tuesday.
We're
I
not
would
saying
gladly
anything.
watch your show today if you promise to watch my show on Tuesday.
Yeah. I was going to say there's a funny quote from Billy Crystal, the comedian. He used to say that, his mom would complain about, ask him about his bowel movements to find out how his health was. And he would say, if I was having bowel movements more frequently than my mom, she thought I had diarrhea. And if I was having them less frequently than my mom, she thought I was constipated. And I think that's, to speak to the comment about leftist and rightist or whatever it is, somebody's a leftist if they're more left leaning than me, and they're a rightist if they're more right leaning than me. I think that it's all about perspective. And so what I always just want to remind people is that regardless of our political ideology, we all want the same things. We all want peace and prosperity for our children. And I know I've repeated that a couple of times. But I want to focus more on the ways that we are alike than different.
I feel the same way when I'm driving. I'm the one that knows the exact speed everybody should be going. If you're going faster than me, you're going too fast. You're driving crazy. If you're going slow, you're in everybody's way that's trying to get somewhere.
Yeah.
That's
The Universe Galaxy, absolutely. Your Universe Galaxy, you're welcome to join the panel. We have posted the link. Jane, could you post the link again?
We do have.
I did.
Yeah, I was just going to say we do have one more. Although I will say we do need to get close to wrapping it up because we are way over time. But we do want to hear what you have to say.
So
I lost track of time.
Animals. Hello.
Hey, hi, I'm the guy in the chat room, the Universe Galaxy. That's me.
Oh, okay. Good to have you.
Hey, welcome.
And actually, I want to give you guys credit before we continue. I know your show is about 10. I go in a lot of different shows. I have a show myself. And a lot of people react strange ways when you go to their show. They won't even put you on. But you guys didn't react any strange way. You put me on right away. So no matter what happens, even if you get mad and hang up on me, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks. As long as you are kind and respectful, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
And as long as you don't yell fire in a crowded theater.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I won't do that. I'm pretty nice to people. The only time I get negative, usually, if they get negative with me first, then I might react in that way. But if they're nice, I'm nice. And even if they act negative, I try to stay nice sometimes. Okay, I know your show's about to end. I got do you allow for different topics, or how does it work?
We like to stay focused on the LDS Church angle of whatever it is that we're talking about, but depending on the topic.
Oh, okay. No, then I guess this would be the wrong time. I had completely random topics that weren't related, so no worries. If you want to try a show another day with different topics, or
you can you can talk. You can say what the topic is, and then we'll.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, sure. You can see my paranoia, not paranoia, my worry, because people start saying things like, he's hijacking the show, he's trolling, he's just trying to plug his page or whatever, so I always ask for permission. Here are my topics. I got 4 different ones. The first one is very light. I don't think you're going to say yes. Michael Jordan fans are the worst sports fans of all time. Should I go to my second one?
Sure.
Sure.
I got 3 more. I got 3 more. I'll give you all at once. Second one. As a general rule, Republicans, I have concluded, are worse than Democrats. Should I tell you my third one?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure.
Two more to go. When you buy something that comes from an animal, whatever it is, ice cream, cheese, meat, mayonnaise, whatever it is, do you ever stop and tell yourself, wow, I'm giving my money to a place that tortures and kills animals? Should I give my last one?
All right, last one.
Yeah.
Last one. And remember, if you're not interested in any of these, no hard feelings. Thanks for putting me on. You guys have been very nice. Last one. When you hear these stories in the news, or even if it's not in the news, you just heard about it, where some adult person, adult meaning 18 and up, had some sexual relations with some girl or guy who's under 18, but not prepubescent, like, 13 to 18. Do you ever stop and ask yourself, why in the majority of these cases is it an adult guy and a girl who's a minor? Those are my 4 topics.
The only thing
we actually did a
topic.
show on that last one.
That's right. For sure, what comes to our mind is Joseph Smith.
Okay, so just so you know, because when I bring up that last one, it can go in different directions. In your show, when I brought up this one, I wasn't trying to focus on age of consent laws and all that. I'm just wondering, a biological thing, why is it mostly guys who are doing this, not girls?
Guys are the what do they call them? The
power structure
hunters. No, the guys are the aggressors,
predators.
That goes into that's in nature. Guys do all they can to attract the females. It's always the guy. I shouldn't say always. That's not a word to use.
Right,
but
majority.
Usually the guy pursuing the girl in nature, and we're part of that nature. And and we did a show on that already, actually, about the youth being SA'd by the adults.
Right.
I will say, however, though, that, as a teacher, it was always disgusting to me when I heard stories of these female teachers preying on their young male students. So it does happen. I don't think statistically it's as likely, but that's one of those things. Yeah.
But if you notice in most other things, I don't want to say all, because there's always an exception to the rule. Let's say someone's stealing candy from a store, or they get into a physical fight outside, right? Or they get into a shouting match. Whatever happens, there's no such thing statistically or biologically that says one sex does it more than the other. It happens because it's a human thing. It's not a male-female thing. So sexuality is male and female. There's no differences biologically or socially. So why is it in this category, it's predominantly men? It should be equally both, just like any other thing.
Except for tens of thousands of years ago, it might have been genetically positive, right? I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting, all of your questions are interesting topics for another time, but thank you so much for coming on.
And do you have a channel that's called Find Out What They Do to Animals?
Actually, no, I just put that on there to make people think. My page name, I'm not a troll, I'm not a prank caller, I'm not putting anything bad on the screen or anything. It's a legit page. It's called The Universe Galaxy. If any of you want to come on, you're more than welcome to come on, plug your page as many times as you like, bring up any topic, and if my show ends, I won't hang up on you. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for being there. Who's the host, by the way? Is it one person or is it all 3 of you?
It's all of us.
Okay, well, thank all 3 of you for having on it. I wish you stayed on longer. I'd love to get into these things, but no worries. I know you got to go. No problem.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
But we do this every Sunday at 1 o'clock Pacific time.
And one thing I try to do is democratize the news that's in the Mormon universe, right? So if things are happening and it involves the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or other things in that sort of that universe galaxy, is what we're trying to talk about mostly.
Yeah, sure. All right.
We allow thought in any shape or form.
Oh, that's great. I love that. In fact, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check out the chat room after you hang up on me, because a lot of times when I go on shows, again, like I told you, people have all kinds of strange reactions. Not just if I call in, if any new person calls in, and I want to see, is this audience going to be fair or are they going to be negative? So I'll check out the chat room.
Yeah, I think you'll find our audience to be a kind and respectful chat of 99% of it, and lots of beautiful humans in there. So thanks again for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Let me know if you want to go on my show. If you guys never contact me, no worries. Stay safe.
Yeah, take care.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, he was a nice gentleman.
Yeah, indeed. Always good to have, some new people in the chat, new people calling in. Always appreciate reaching a new audience. And Yeah. So final thoughts from either one of you about the LDS Church's response to the Charlie Kirk shooting.
Well, my final thought is it's like I've already said, there's no justification in the shooting. It's wrong, but I'm disappointed that the church is deflecting like they always seem to do. And yeah, I'm once again disappointed in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint leadership, not the members. The members are wonderful. And my family, and there's so many that I love dearly, but the leadership I have an issue with, and I have an issue with everything legal about the church. They break so many laws, and they deflect things that are incredibly serious, including sexual assault cases that we've done a show in the past.
We might want to clip that that quote that says the church is against lawlessness, and sort of save that.
Yeah, keep that in mind as we go forward and hear more about their SEC fine and the more investigation into their SEC filings. That'll be interesting. How about Eugene? Any last thoughts?
No last thoughts. Sam, I didn't recognize Sam. I don't know if you knew, but thanks, Sam, for trying to come on. We got to go, but maybe next time. And then there's always Tuesdays with Tim, same channels.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just say my final thoughts again. I find it very telling that the church was so quick to issue a statement after this happened and issued two in a row, one right after the other. I think because they know where their bread is buttered. And I find it incredibly disturbing that something that, that they decide they really cherry pick what they're going to comment on. And there have been so many times when I wish they would have commented on something or come out with a statement or denounced somebody's actions. And they didn't do it. And it ended up harming more people. So that is the reason I'm disappointed in the church. And I agree with you, Randy. I think first and foremost that the LDS Church is a corporation. They're going to act in their own self-interest. And they really don't care about the experiences of their individual members, which I think is really sad.
I guess they acted a little bit fast with Tim Ballard, and that was
that's true.
That was okay.
That's true. Well, it was mainly because Tim Ballard was going around saying that Elder M. Russell Ballard had sanctioned and approved all of his activities, which included allegedly essaying women, and so that was a problematic situation for them for that reason.
Megan, are our
especially if it was true
by the LDS Church?
I'm sorry, what?
Are our channels sanctioned and approved by the LDS Church?
They are not. I have not received my official letter of approval from the Corporation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints saying how much they appreciate my truthful reporting and commentary on their actions, and I'm still waiting.
So there you go. Randy, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that the church, they were quick to excommunicate Tim Ballard, but there's a possibility that maybe he was sanctioned by Elder Ballard, and that's why it happened so quickly. Get him shut up.
Yes.
Because we don't have Elder Ballard. He left this earth in a pretty timely fashion as to not to have to answer questions.
Yep. That's all.
That's right.
Always interesting.
And we need to tout that tomorrow night happens to be family home evening.
It's family night over on my channel with Kiki.
Everybody go to Megan's channel.
It's guaranteed to entertain and to make you laugh.
The Midlife Revolution.
That's right. So over on _verse, tomorrow night with me and Kiki, Mormon Family Night, which is where we're going to discuss. I get out my Book of Mormon reader, which I've misplaced. It's usually within arm's reach of me all the time. But we're going to be talking about the next chapter in the Book of Mormon reader for children, which is more about Nephi and his family wandering through the wilderness and doing lots of murmuring. And it will be 1000% entertainment, as Everyone Loves Angel Eyes is so accurately pointing out in the chat. And we do have a big announcement tomorrow. It's going to be pretty great.
There you go.
I'm all tingly waiting for that announcement, by the way.
Now, Randy, do you have any announcement for your channel? Are you going to start producing a certain type of content that some people might be interested in? That's a little bit different.
Yeah, pretty soon. That's forthcoming.
So forthcoming,
on
not
my
ready
channel,
to.
which is Momo Nomo. I'll be doing some production. Yes. And also, I want to remind people that on Tuesdays with Tim happens, and we do that every night at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So figure out your own times to watch. But it's a little bit like this show. We encourage you to watch, and if you want to hop on, we always encourage that too. So
that's right. And Mondays with Megan is her family home evening. And also, just to let people know, on Latter Daily Digest, if anybody's interested in Joseph Smith, Julia Sanders of Analyzing Mormonism, and I interviewed 2 recent authors of books about Joseph Smith. One book is this one, and Ganesh Chirian is going to be on the show, as well as John G. Turner, and that's coming up just within probably an hour from now. I'll probably get everything set up for that. So if an hour from now you have nothing better to do but to come to my show, then I'd appreciate it.
This is
Megan,
why
you have multiple fur babies?
This is why I do not allow my dogs to be seen most of the time, because I invited one of them to come say hi and the other one got jealous. So those are my dogs. Their names are Loki and Valkyrie, and they are menaces to society. They're basically velociraptors.
I kind of got jealous. So,
There you go. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Share, like, and subscribe, and have a wonderful rest of 2025.